Hi there everybody, it is Russian man who brings value through my own experiences, and today we're gonna watch one video called by George Carlin about rape. Rape it is process of some fucking and some sexual harassment things. Yes, did you know about it? I did know it before 1 year ago, but I learned some words of English and today I'm gonna listen it and will practice my English too. And you can recommend your own things in the comment section below if you want, and also we will speak about it. And maybe I will be incorrect with comprehension, maybe I will be correct. You can help me with comprehension if you want. You can describe things what I will not understand, and while we will watch this video I will describe things that I understood and that I misunderstood. Okay? Let's do this together. Agree, my dear viewer from America or maybe from foreign country. If you are from America, please leave me in the comment section 100%, because I want to bring value to American people and for another foreigners, especially Americans. Let's do this.
Oh, some people don't like you to talk like that. Oh, some people would like to shut you up for saying those things. You know that. Lots of people, lots of groups in this country want to tell you how to talk, tell you what you can't talk about. Well, sometimes they'll say, well, you can talk about something, but you can't joke about it. Say you can't joke about something because it's not funny. Comedians run into that shit all the time. Like rape, they'll say, you can't joke about rape. Rape's not funny. I say, fuck you, I think it's hilarious. How do you like that?
Right now he said I will talk about it. He said that people are talking about that you don't need to speak about this topic, don't need to speak about religion, don't speak about these things. But he said like, but rape, if we will talk about rape, it will be so hilarious, it will be so funny, marvelous and interesting. It is like talking about baby first steps, or maybe talking about what do you do in your life. Let's talk about rape. Okay, let's do this.
I can prove to you that rape is funny. Picture Porky Pig raping Elmer Fudd.
Elmer Fudd, I don't know who is Porky Pig. I don't know who is it. It is maybe characters of cartoons or somebody else, something else.
See, hey, why do you think they call him Porky, huh? I know what you're gonna say. Elmer was asking for it. Elmer was coming on to Porky. Porky couldn't help himself. He got a hard on. He got horny. He lost control. He went out of his mind. A lot of men talk like that. A lot of men think that way. They think it's the woman's fault. They like to blame the rape on the woman. Say, hey, she had it coming. She was wearing a short skirt. These guys think women ought to go to prison for being cock teasers. Don't seem fair to me. Don't seem right. But you can joke about it. I believe you can joke about anything. It all depends on how you construct the joke. What the exaggeration is.
Exactly.
What the exaggeration is.
For example, you can construct joke about raping that is so funny, raping, and we can do this all the time. Fuck this girl and fuck that girl and do everything. But you can construct it like, yes, raping is funny, sometimes looks funny. For example, if you are like a bear or you are like a horse and you raped one girl who is human, and it is funny because raping with animals logical problems inside my mind, and it is funny. For example, yes, and if we will talk about yes, let's do this, it is like a the Highland and other things, let's do this all together, let's do fucking raping, and it will be not super funny joke. It is message of joke, yes, and let's continue.
Because every joke needs one exaggeration. Every joke needs one thing to be.
What is exaggeration? Exaggeration is a message
Way out of proportion. Give you an example. You ever see a news story like this in the paper? Every now and then you run into a story that says some guy broke into a house, stole a lot of things, and while he was in there, he raped an 81-year-old woman.
What?
And I'm thinking to myself, why? What the fuck kind of a social life does this guy have? I want to say, why did you do that? Well, she was coming.
It is really creepy, because if you are like a man and you want to rape 81 years old, you have some problems with your mind, because 81 years old, she has dry pussy maybe, or maybe something else, and it is not so super pleasant. It is unpleasant, it is awful. But need to think, what will you choose? Choose your destiny, masturbating or 81 years old woman? Leave your comments in the comment section.
Went on to me. We were dancing and I got horny. Hey, she was asking for it. She had on a tight bathrobe. I say, Jesus Christ, be a little fucking selective next time, will ya? Now, speaking of rape, you know what I wonder? I wonder, is there more rape at the equator or the North Pole? These are the kind of
At the equator or the North Pole? I understood. Where more raping? On north place of our planet, of our geoid, or on the equator? Because equator is so hot weather, and the hotter weather, the higher your dick size.
things I think about when I'm sitting home alone and the power goes out. I wonder, is there more rape at the equator or the North Pole? I mean per capita. I know the populations are different. Most people think it's the equator. I think it's the North Pole. People think it's the equator because it's hot down there. They don't wear a lot of clothing. Guys can see women's tits. They get horny, and there's a lot of fucking going on. That's exactly why there's less rape at the equator, because there's a lot of fucking going on. You can tell there's a lot of fucking at the equator. Take a look at the population figures. Billions of people live near the equator. How many Eskimos we got? 30? 35? No one's getting laid at the North Pole. It's too fucking cold. Guys say to their wives, hey, tonight, honey, huh? Tonight, huh? Are you crazy? The wind chill factor is 300 below. These guys are...
Yes, it is really interesting, because I did know about it before, that rape rate can be so high on polar bear locations, because you on polar star has many of things that don't allow you to do sexual things, and you are getting horny about it. You are getting horny not about that you look pretty girl. You are getting horny because of nature, because you want to do this by nature, not by your imagination.
Tribe, they're horny, they're pent up. Every now and then, they bust out, they gotta rape somebody. Now, the biggest problem an Eskimo rapist has, trying to get wet leather leggings off a woman who's kicking. Did you ever try to get leather pants off of someone who doesn't want to?
I did understand it. Let's repeat.
As trying to get wet leather leggings off a woman who's kicking. Did you ever try to get leather pants off of someone who doesn't want to take them off? You would lose your heart on in the process. Up at the North Pole, your dick would shrivel up like a stack of dimes.
Shrivel up like a stack of dimes. Shrivel, it means that your dick will be so like this way, like a stick of dimes. Stick of dimes, maybe it is dime is nickel on the dime. Nickel is 5 cents, dime is 10 cents. It will be this way, less than 7 centimeters. By the way, some interesting fact for everybody who is watching. My dick is not so big, but it is medium average size of Russian man. Average size of Russian man dick is 13 centimeters. I have 14 to 16 or 15 and a half. It is something more. It all depends on my hornability.
That's another thing I wonder. I wonder, does a rapist have a hard on when he leaves?
I wonder why, I wonder how. Yesterday, the rape inside. Okay.
The thing I wonder. I wonder, does a rapist have a hard on when he leaves the house in the morning? Or does he develop it during the day while he's walking around looking for somebody? These are the kind of thoughts that kept me out of the really good schools. Now I probably got the feminists all pissed off at me because I'm joking about rape. Feminists want to control your language. Feminists want to tell you how to talk. And they're not alone. They're not alone. I'm not picking on the feminists. They got a lot of company in this country. There's a lot of groups, a lot of institutions in this country want to control your language. Tell you what you can say and what you can't say. Government wants to tell you some things you can't say because they're against the law. Or you can't say this because it's against the regulation. Or here's something you can't say because it's a secret. You can't tell him that because he's not cleared to know that. Government wants to control information and control language because that's the way you control thought. And basically that's the game they're in.
George
Same
Orwell.
with religion. Religion is nothing but mind control. Religion is just trying to control your mind, control your thoughts. So they're going to tell you some things you shouldn't say because they're sins. And besides telling you things you shouldn't say, religion's going to suggest to you some things you ought to be saying. Here's something you ought to say first thing when you wake up in the morning. Here's something you ought to say just before you go to sleep at night. Here's something we always say on the third Wednesday in April after the first...
It is about religion and about government. Government speaks about things that you should not do, and religion that you ought to do. Two different things. Like it is your unallowment, government, and necessarability on religion. Okay.
First full moon in spring at 4 o'clock when the bells ring. We say on the third Wednesday in April after the first full moon in spring at 4 o'clock when the bells ring. Religion is always suggesting things you ought to be saying. Same with political groups of all kinds. Political activists, anti-bias groups, special interest groups are going to suggest the correct political vocabulary, the way you ought to be saying things, and that's where the feminists come in. Now, as I said, I got nothing against the feminists. In fact, I happen to agree with most of the feminist philosophy I have read. I agree, for instance, that for the most part, men are vain, ignorant, greedy, brutal assholes who've just about ruined this planet.
He said like a man, male people, they are ruining our planet.
Who've just about ruined this planet because they're afraid someone might have a bigger dick out there somewhere. Men are basically insecure about the size of their dicks, and so they go to war over it. You don't have to be a political scientist or a history major to see the bigger dick foreign policy theory at work. It goes something like this. What? They have bigger dicks? Bomb them! And of course, the bombs and the bullets and the rockets are all shaped like dicks. I don't understand that part of it, but it is...
It is mushroom.
Part of the equation. So I agree with that abstract, that man...
But... Wait. Mushroom or dick? Interesting test.
Males have pushed a technology that just about has this planet in a stranglehold. Mother Earth, raped again. Guess who? Hey, she was asking for it. I also happen to like it when feminists attack these fat-ass housewives who think there's nothing more to life than sitting home on the telephone, drinking coffee, watching TV, and pumping out a baby every 9 months. Will 7 be enough, Bob? But what's the alternative? What's the alternative to pumping out a unit every 9 months?
It looks like Bill Burr stand-up right now. Because, no, Bill Burr is modern stand-upper. George Carlin is pre-modern. Interesting.
Pointless careerism? Pointless careerism? Putting on a man-tailored suit with shoulder pads and imitating all the worst behavior of men? This is the noblest thing that women can think of? To take a job in a criminal corporation that's poisoning the environment and robbing customers out of their money? This is the worthiest thing they can think of. Isn't there something nobler they could do to be helping this planet heal? You don't hear much about that from these middle-class women. I've noticed that most of these feminists are white middle-class women. They don't give a shit about black women's problems. They don't care about Latino women. All they're interested in is their own own reproductive freedom and their pocketbooks. But when it comes to changing the language, I think they make some good points. Because we do think in language. And so the quality of our thoughts and ideas can only be as good as the quality of our language. So maybe some...
Really? Interesting. I have not good English language, then my quality of ideas is not good. But the more I lower, the higher my ideas level.
Some of this patriarchal shit ought to go away. I think spokesman ought to be spokesperson. I think chairman ought to be chairperson. I think mankind ought to be humankind. But they take it too far. They take themselves too seriously. They exaggerate. They want me to call that thing in the street a person-hole cover. I think that's taking it a little bit too far. What would you call a ladies' man? A person's person? That would make a he-man an it person. Little kids would be afraid of the boogie person. They'd look up in the sky and see the person in the moon. Guys would say, come back here and fight like a person, and we'd all sing for It's a Jolly Good Person. That's the kind of thing you would hear on Late Night with David Letterperson. You know what I mean?
David Letterman, is it a specific show?
So I think it's an exaggeration, and I like to piss off any group that takes itself a little bit too seriously. And it does not take a lot of imagination to piss off a feminist. All you gotta do is run into Now Headquarters or Ms. Magazine and say, hey, which one of you cute little cupcakes wants to come home and cook me a nice meal and give me a blowjob? Blowjob! Oh, that pisses them off. You want to piss off a feminist? Call her a cum catcher. That'll get her attention. Ah, don't act disgusted. Don't act disgusted. Half of you are going to go home and go down on each other tonight, remember? If you're willing to swallow cum, let's not make believe something I said was disgusting, okay? Huh?
Did I understand correct that last part of this podcast was about feminism, about specific language of feminisms, like, for example, emperor, empress, or how to say it correct, I don't know, and something like this. I didn't understand the last part of this stand-up, but whole stand-up was interesting in some moments, but I was yawning. It means that I didn't understand some parts and it was something boring for me. But whole stand-up was interesting, by the way. It was new thoughts. I understood it correct. Also, I like the way how George Carlin do jokes. It is a kind of numeration of things. It means that if he will talk about fruits, he will say melon, oranges, berries, cucumbers, tomatoes, and other things. Yes, if he will speak about plants, he will do this counting things. It is some specific way of George Carlin speaking. It is interesting. And what should I do next? Maybe I should learn more about American culture, about American things, and you can help me with this. You can leave me in the comment section what should I read, what should I learn about American culture that every child of America knows. And after that I will be more understandable. Right now I'm reading some books of American culture, for example, Charles Bukowski, A Woman, and Stephen King. Also, I have read book of Roald Dahl. Do you know who is Roald Dahl? Like Charlie and Chocolate Fabric or Factory. Also about Matilda book for children. I have never ever read Charlotte's Web, but I think I should do this. Also, you can recommend TV shows, TV series. It will be really interesting to know. And thanks so much for watching this kind of video. It was interesting, and be always improving yourself daily. And after maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you will have results in your whole life. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time, and you know that all depends only on you. Bye bye.